Here's a little lesson in YouTubing. I have my calendar app and my computer all filled out because I need to plan out videos. If we go over into my past, oh yeah, everybody talks about their past, I have mapped out every single YouTube video that I've uploaded onto this platform for the past, I think, 5 years? Something like that? Ever since college, I was doing this pretty much daily, keeping track of everything that we had put up on the internet, and it was very helpful. And it also is a very helpful tool when I need to go into the future and try to plan out video topics. Now, the thing is, you always have to have rainy day topics. That's what I like to call them, rainy day topics. When there's nothing else to talk about, you need to make a video about something. It rarely happens nowadays because there's usually something to go out there and talk about, but if you scroll into my calendar far enough, you'll find a whole bunch of topics that I've been stockpiling for years. Literally years. I mean, some of these topics are from 2021, but we haven't made videos about these yet, either because the topics are just kind of weak, I'm just kind of brainstorming whatever it is that I could go out there and talk about, or there just happen to be other things that happen in a day where I'm like, okay, now we don't need to use that rainy day topic. There's actually news now, or there's actually an article that we can talk about. This is one of the rainy day topics, and I saw this on my long list of extra stuff, and I thought it was interesting. Here's a topic that I had written out here. It's listed on October 15th, 2025, just because that's when, I had this copied and pasted into the future. The video topic here is titled, How Pavel Datsyuk Cost the Red Wings Jakob Chychrun. And I saw that and I was like, okay, wait a minute, that's a great topic. Pavel Datsyuk's in the news because he had recently rejected the idea of him heading over to Detroit again in some sort of a coaching role. And now, when you talk about the Pavel Datsyuk trade, which is what we are referring to, it gets very interesting 8 years after the fact. Now, I'm going to go over onto capfriendly.com and use the wayback.archive.org machine to look at the 2016 NHL entry draft. This is the best site if you want to go out there and look at trades and draft trades and how everything went down and how everything looks in a few years' time, because CapFriendly has all the trade data alongside of the draft picks. In the 16th overall spot in the 2016 NHL draft, the Arizona Coyotes selected Jakob Chychrun from the OHL's Sarnia Sting. Now, Chychrun is a guy whom today we all recognize has been disappointing, to say the least. I mean, Jake Chychrun has been included in trade rumors for years. His Arizona Coyotes days, ever since that 41-point season that he had in 56 games played in 2020-2021, a lot of people were like, wait a minute, yeah, this guy's going to be great. He's a good player, but he kind of wants out, and so maybe we'll see him get traded, maybe we won't. And then he got traded to Ottawa, 5 points, 12 games played to end off the 23 season, and then he had 41 points in 82 games played this most previous season. Was good, but was not, amazing. And then we had seen the rumors about him potentially wanting out again, even though he was in his hometown team, and the team that he was on, Ottawa, did not like him either, so they traded him away to Washington, where he will be spending the last season on what is a $4.6 million AAV contract. Jakob Chychrun's a weird player because we know how good he is, we know how good he can be. The unfortunate truth is, though, that he just isn't that good, as much as you need him to be. He can be that great, but he just isn't. And part of it is, is he playing on a team where he actually wants to be that good? Is he being given the best chances to succeed here? What's going on? We'll see what happens in Washington if that narrative changes, but now it's been 2 teams here in a row where he hasn't really shown off his best hockey consistently. You can say that he's been on bad teams. That's totally fine. Washington may just very well be the best team he is on if you don't want to include that Arizona Coyotes team that found itself into the bubble playoffs somehow in the 2020 season. But either way, Jake Chychrun is a guy taken in this 16th overall spot by Arizona. The funny part is that 16th overall pick in the 2016 draft initially belonged to Detroit. And if you take a look at the trade which the Arizona Coyotes acquired this pick in, you'll see the following. On June 24th, 2016, the Arizona Coyotes acquired Pavel Datsyuk and Jakob Chychrun in exchange for Joe Vitale, Arizona's second pick in that year, which turned out to be Filip Hronek, and the New York Rangers' first-round pick in that same year, which ended up being Dennis Cholowski. So this was a really interesting turn of events, because if you think about these assets here, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Pavel Datsyuk was an absolute stud. I mean, everybody knows that. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player. He was one of the best, if not the best, two-way players in the NHL at his time. He is undoubtedly in the top, let's say, 3 of skilled danglers, trickery magicians on the ice. He had a bag of tricks that was endless. He would never run out of things to do. And he was a very good point scorer for the Detroit Red Wings. He had 97-point years back-to-back, and he was also this Selke-winning monster night in and night out. Pavel Datsyuk was a legend who was eventually traded to the Arizona Coyotes but never actually played a game for them because he went over to SKA St. Petersburg immediately after and lived out the rest of his hockey-playing career. Now, that is all fine and dandy, but when you think about it, hey, the Red Wings traded away the draft pick that was used to select Chychrun alongside of Pavel Datsyuk. You start to wonder about the what-ifs there. Jakob Chychrun is a good player, and if he was playing on a better team, if he was more motivated to be good, who knows what the Red Wings would be looking like if they had a guy who was that hard-nosed, who was that stable, and who was that offensively productive when he was at his best. Jakob Chychrun nowadays, especially in the Ottawa system, was not that, but we know the talent to be that is there. So if he was just in Detroit, how would that have worked out? Never mind the fact that there were actually some very interesting pieces heading over to Detroit in this trade. Dennis Cholowski was a guy that went a few picks after Jakob Chychrun, and unfortunately Cholowski never really panned out in the ways that we thought he could. Filip Hronek, on the other hand, did. Hronek was really good, and I think myself, as a Vancouver Canucks fan, I kind of have the right to go out there and talk about Hronek nowadays. He was good in his last year in Detroit, but eventually he was traded over for that draft pick that became Axel Sandin Pellikka. So in a way, you can say that Pavel Datsyuk and his trade over to Arizona influenced a long chain of events that resulted in the Red Wings getting Axel Sandin Pellikka, and that's a crazy idea that, you know what, I'm actually going to use that. That's a much better way to title and thumbnail this video. Yeah, holy crap, that's amazing. Thinking on the fly, eh? Imagine that. The way that Pavel Datsyuk and his departure from the Red Wings ultimately resulted in Axel Sandin Pellikka 7 years later in the 2023 draft. That's amazing. I didn't even have that angle pulled up in my book right here before this video started recording, but ASP is now the best Detroit Red Wings right-handed defenseman prospect. He is the best offensive defenseman prospect that the team has. Such an outstanding skater, such a great producer of points, and a guy whose versatility will add some incredible things to that power play once he makes the team and does his thing. I'm not going to say that this is the 1 year later video, we're going to make an entire other commentary about that, but when you think about the trades and everything that went down here, the fact that Pavel Datsyuk and Jakob Chychrun were traded away for Filip Hronek, who was eventually traded away for Axel Sandin Pellikka, that is absolutely nuts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Pavel Datsyuk trade tree, this unintentional spiral down into a completely different video topic that had bamboozled everybody for the first half of the video. Heck, the first 6-ish minutes of the video were all about Jakob Chychrun and Pavel Datsyuk. Even thinking about Chychrun and how good he could have been for Detroit had he just been motivated, that's a pretty good idea. But man, Pavel Datsyuk turning into ASP. How about that, eh? Not to mention the fact that Dennis Cholowski had his own path with the Detroit Red Wings. Joe Vitale is also there too, but we don't really need to talk much about him. Either way, though, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. 8 years later, how do you feel about that Pavel Datsyuk trade? What are your thoughts about the fact that the Coyotes even got Pavel Datsyuk's contract in the first place? They get everybody, honestly. Pavel Datsyuk, Shea Weber, Marian Hossa, they just help out any of these teams that have contracts that are totally dead, contracts of guys that are not going to be playing anymore. Pavel Datsyuk was that, and 8 years later, the Red Wings now have one of their best offensively minded defenseman prospects they've ever had because of it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9, and bye.